Hey guys, it's TheFrXion here, Tiger Tank 12, however you call me. I don't really care, and welcome back to Real Tanks. Damn, this is the 4th time that I'm remaking this video and the intro, and I'm getting kind of annoyed. Somebody called me, somebody was knocking on my door, somebody up in the apartment above me was hammering away on, I don't even know, and yeah. Hopefully this time around I will have no distractions. So, unfortunately I was not around for 3 weeks. I haven't really played World Tanks at all, but I don't really think I've missed a lot. Real life obligations, as you guys know, are real life obligations. And yeah, we have to work with that. So, today I have a video that I wanted to make a while ago, and I thought it was the perfect time to make this review of the King Tiger C and also talk about some of the not so nice things that this tank has brought into World Tanks. So let's get right into it. Before we start with the review, I want to talk about the controversy around this tank. Because this tank was released as a free premium tank as long as you had Amazon Prime. I'm not sure, it was about 3 years ago, I think. Wargaming announced that they just had a partnership with Amazon. And if you guys know, if you have Amazon Prime, you were able to use that on your existing World of Tanks account, and you would get this tank for free. This was the first and only time that they gave out a free premium tank via Amazon Prime, and it was one of the reasons why a lot of people signed up for the service for a free month. As long as you had the Amazon Prime membership, you were able to play this tank. And to be fair, it's a good tank. It's a pretty cool tank. And, you know, for a free tier 7 premium, that's not too bad, especially coming from a greedy company as Wargaming. So, where was the problem? There had to be a catch. I think a lot of people that already had Prime, for them, that was like a pretty damn cool thing. You know, you get this vehicle, you already have Prime, you want to have the next day delivery with Amazon, and you just think like, that's pretty damn cool. I have that, I can just add it in, and now I also get a free tier 7 premium tank. Now, Wargaming said that in case of, what do you call it? In case of differences between Amazon and Wargaming and an end of their partnership, this tank would be free and would be given out to all the players that had this vehicle with the subscription. Now, if you didn't have the subscription anymore, it doesn't matter, you had it in your garage, you would get this tank for free. What happened? Amazon Prime changed their Prime gaming status. I think they changed the naming around, and they changed some other things. And Wargaming said that obviously, since they changed that, we have to adapt to the new Prime or whatever it's called. What they did was a very scummy move. And they basically took out the King Tiger C. They removed it out of the game and out of the garage for anyone who still had it in there. Even if you had a Prime membership, the tank was removed, it was taken out, and in the end they said that because the Prime membership status has changed, and because that kind of thing has gone into a new Prime reward scheme, Wargaming have decided to remove this tank and make it available for purchase. The funny thing is, Prime did not cancel, they just changed it a little bit, they modified it, right? Wargaming said that, okay, since that is no longer the original Prime, they're going to be removing the vehicle. The thing is, I thought they said if they cancel Prime, if they make something different, that they would give this tank out for free. Now, Wargaming weren't going to give out this tank for free. They wanted a quick cash grab. And I've grown to like this vehicle. I've grown to love this tank. And in the end, I grumbled about it and I paid $20 to buy it. And it was the scummiest thing I've ever seen from Wargaming. one of the scummiest things. There are probably other scummy things that they have done that maybe outweigh this, but it was one of the scummiest things to just take away this thing, but still keep that Amazon Prime membership. Because you still get goodies, but the tank is gone. And they said that if they take away the tank, you will get the vehicle for free. And obviously Wargaming, you cannot trust them, you cannot trust their word. And here we are, 1 or 2, 3 years later, and the King Tiger C is no longer available for anyone who had Amazon Prime. So yeah, I'm not really sure how you can trust the company anymore if they do things like this constantly. And it's just, it's getting more frustrating and more difficult to do so. But let's put that aside and let's talk about the tank itself, because there is a good possibility that this tank will come back on a sale where you can pick it up. The question is just, should you buy it or should you not buy it? I think looking at the performance stats, that is one of the things that is maybe not even that important. I don't think that this tank will perform very, very badly. I don't think that this is a bad tank. Let's put that out of the way real fast. I think this is a really cool tier 7 premium tank. It's basically a stock Tiger II at tier 7 where it can really rely on that armor. It's not overpowered, at least I don't think it's overpowered. It might be a bit powerful, but I think that's how the King Tiger should have been, you know, how we view the King Tiger and that legendary vehicle. But the thing is, more or less, are you willing to pay for something that Wargaming promised us for free, or that you should still have if you had that Prime membership? It's kind of, they give you a gift and then they take it away again. You cannot gift somebody something and then take it away, at least in my opinion. I just think that the way that they handled it was really, really disgusting. And yeah. But let's talk about this tank. We have a Tiger II on our hands, a King Tiger II, and it's a captured variant. This is an American vehicle because it was captured by GIs. And that is the case. In World War II, the Americans did capture quite a few German vehicles towards the end of the war, and in the Ardennes and in France, they actually captured a few King Tigers. And that is quite a formidable vehicle to have. You know, to pick up and to do trials on. You need to figure out what you're up against, and there is no better way than to own one of these vehicles and check how thick is the hull, like what kind of armament is it, like how far is the maximum combat effective range. You want to know how to knock these things out if you are going up against them. I mean, when the King Tiger was introduced into the Western Front and the Eastern Front, I don't think that there was anything on the same level to really be able to engage this thing from a distance and be able to go through it. You can see that the Germans did learn quite a few things after the Tiger 1. You have angled shapes, you have a turret that is, I'd say taller, but it's not as wide as the Tiger's turret, and it is more angled. So basically there are a lot more angles to this thing than the Tiger 1 had. So let's take a look at the firepower. You're going to be running around with the 88 Kanone K43, which is unique to this vehicle right now, but I think you also have the same kind of, or a very similar gun on the Tiger II. Let's check real fast. It's one of the stock guns, and you can see right here, this is the L71 modifications. And what you can see immediately is that, well, the tier 8 does more alpha damage because of balancing, but other than that, the things or the statistics are pretty similar. The gun loading time is 8.5 seconds. You have 203 millimeters of penetration, which at tier 7 is pretty damn good. You only have 273 millimeters of penetration with APCR though, but still I think 237 is going to be enough. if you're going up against tier 9 and tier 8 tanks, you might be struggling a bit, but I think against those tier 7 tanks, you're going to be equipped quite nicely with this kind of gun. The turret traverse speed is also decent, 20.86 degrees per second. It's not the slowest, it has 8 degrees of gun depression, which is really needed for a tank of this stature. It's really tall, and it has 15 degrees of gun elevation. So this tank has decent gun depression, but I'd say it's basically standard. The aim time is, as most German tanks, is considered pretty damn good. 2.18 seconds for a fully aimed in reticle. You have accuracy of 0.35 at 100 meters. And what you can also see is that my crew is very, very well trained. This is the T57 crew that I have on this tank, and mixed with the T34 crew. So a very skilled crew. So I have quite a few, skills to give me a bit of an edge. Almost 2000 damage per minute. We also have gun rammer on there. I want to be able to do the max amount of damage as fast as I can. Moving on to survivability, and this is where this tank really shines. Now, if we do compare it to some other vehicles, I did take into consideration the VK4503, which we can compare real quick, and the Tiger II. Now, the Tiger II obviously is not a very fair comparison directly in terms of firepower, since the Tiger II in World of Tanks is able to carry a 105mm gun, which I think it never did in World War II. Or at least I think it was only built as a prototype, maybe. But yeah, if we take a look at the firepower and we compare it via the VK and the King Tiger, you can see that firepower-wise, they're basically very similar. They have the same armament, they have the same gun depression, almost the same aim time. The DPM is a bit better on my King Tiger, probably because I'm running a bit of a different setup, and I have a bit better dispersion at 100 meters, probably because I'm running a different kind of setup there. But otherwise, they're very identical. What is also quite similar is the armor, but there is some differences. The VK4503 and the King Tiger have a similar shape, but you can see that the VK is supposed to be the prototype to the King Tiger. The King Tiger is basically the fully fledged out King Tiger that they did produce at the end of the war. The VK4503 is basically, I think it has the Porsche turret, if I'm not mistaken, and not the Henschel turret, because there's a difference. It's the stock turret where it's actually a turret that they actually did design in World War II, and the first Tiger IIs did come with that turret, but in the end they decided to go with the Henschel turret. I'm not really sure if I'm getting it correctly or if I'm mistaking them, but the turret that we have on the VK was the very first turret that we used to have on the Tiger II before they did manage to switch over. But let's get right into the thick of it. You can see that the hull armor, the turret armor, is a big improvement. The VK doesn't have that kind of protection. It loses out 50 millimeters of frontal hull armor. That is very, very much. With the angling that you have on there, you can have 150 and all of a sudden you have 200 millimeters of effective armor. So with the VK, that kind of drops off, because 50 millimeters of armor, that is quite a drastic drop. You can see that the Tiger II at tier 8 has basically almost identical armor to the King Tiger, 10 millimeters less. Other than that, the sides and the hull are identical. But a big difference is also the turret. King Tiger's turret has 185 millimeters of protection, while the VK only has 100 millimeters of protection. Now the Tiger II at tier 8, because of balancing purposes, has the best protection, 245 millimeters. They actually buffed it quite a bit, and that's what they did with the frontal plate. If you do compare the sizes, you can see that the Tiger II is basically the same with the King Tiger and with the VK. Obviously makes sense. It's the same vehicle, but they had to change the stats a little bit for, the best balancing purpose. So I can understand that. So survivability, the King Tiger is much better than the VK, and I think the Tiger 2 is not even going to be in that comparison because it's a tier 8, and I think it was just there to give us a little bit of a view what the tier 8 version does and how close the King Tiger actually comes to the tier 8 version. So that's why the King Tiger is such a good tank at tier 7, because it has almost the same hull armor. It almost has close to, or is closer to, the turret armor that the tier 8 has, but 185 is a big difference from 100 millimeters of armor. That's where you really get the protection. Now, mobility wise, I am thinking that they're both the same. I thought that the VK was going to be a bit faster, but actually they're the same. 38 kilometers. It's not a slow heavy tank. It's a heavy tank that can get to places quite quickly. And you can see that the traverse speed, that's actually where the VK does get a bit of an upper hand, probably because of the loadout that I've chosen on the King Tiger, which has slowed the vehicle down a little bit. Also, what's quite interesting is that the suspension must be different from the VK4503, because I'm able to load 81 tons instead of just the 70 tons on the VK. So yeah, there are quite a few differences. I think the biggest difference is definitely the armor layout. This tank, I think, is always a vehicle that I've enjoyed to play. I've always liked the VK, but with the King Tiger, it's not even a competition, because the differences are so minimalistic in gun characteristics, mobility, that basically the additional armor is going to be making quite big of an impact and difference in the game. So without further ado, I'd say let's jump into a battle, see how well this tank does, and then we're gonna have a final verdict on the King Tiger C. Okay, so I think I've gotten the perfect gameplay for you guys. You can see we're playing on Cliff, and this is a tier 7 max matchup, so we are top dog in this game. Now, I know if you're playing up against tier 8s and 9s, your experience will be very, very different than the experience that you have right here, but since my time is very limited, I'm just going to be showing you guys this gameplay, because I think the strengths are going to be very similar, or well, at least let's say the strengths in tier 7, that's where you are really expecting this tank to be, are going to be a bit different at tier 8 and 9. You're going to be playing it a bit different. This tank will be more of a support vehicle than it is like right here a breaching tank. Now, excuse me if my driving is a bit erratic. I just got a phone call when I was playing this game, so basically I was just very preoccupied with other things, and there are so many things going on at the time. It's just really crazy. So yeah, we're on the map Cliff, and I want you guys to pay extra attention to the E25s that we have on our team, on the enemy, and on the enemy team, because they're going to be playing quite a significant role in this game. You guys know that the E25 has an incredible, well, it is an incredible tank, probably way too overpowered, and the E25 is one of those vehicles that can single-handedly fight games very quickly. So yeah, you know, with the King Tiger, in a setup like this, you have the armor, 150 millimeters of frontal armor. Nothing is going to be able to go through your front armor unless they shoot the weak spots, and that could be the T-29 or the KV-122. But most of these tanks, like the T-43, they just don't have what it takes to go through our hull, our tank. 185 millimeters of turret armor is also going to give us quite a bit of an edge. So you can see we're already working them, but as I mentioned, I'm a bit rusty, so I haven't played a lot of world tanks, and I'm quite out in the open. I'm very exposed. So at the moment when I'm doing this, I'm expecting to get hit by artillery in a second, and it does happen. They have 3 artillery pieces on the enemy team, and that is not something that's going to bode very well for us. But so far you can see we've already bounced 1,470 HP, and we have managed to do 1,170. The thing is, like, if you are playing a tank such as this, and you're in a scenario like this, you do get a bit cocky. I would not say I'm a bit too sure of the armor on my tank, and I do get punished for that. So I do get 2 hits from artillery and the E25, and I do go down below 1,000 HP. So I'm only at 851 HP, this far, but I managed to do 1,430 damage, and I managed to bounce about 3.2k damage. Now this is really important to see. If we take a look at the map, you can see that we don't really control the 1-2 line. We do have a few tanks there to just, you know, have a bit of cover, but we don't have anyone at E3. If we had a medium tank or a tank destroyer at E3, we could probably do quite a few aggressive flanking maneuvers, since the middle part is the place where we're trying to gain control. You can see that we have on the right a T-29 and a Oni, both are pushing. They're both at full HP almost, and I'm trying to regain my engine, because a crippled engine is the last thing that I want to have in my King Tiger if I need to push in. The thing is obviously that there is a lot of tanks in the back. This is a map that is very famous for the positions at the back, A5, A6, where there are tank destroyers waiting there for anyone pushing in. So if you move in like the T-29 is doing right now and the Oni, they're going to be pummeled by artillery, they're going to be shot from above the hill, they're going to be shot from A5, and thus their survival is going to be very limited. And if you can see right there, you can see that our T-29 is getting pummeled by quite a few things now, and so is the Oni. But I don't want them to die in vain, so I think I need to push. I need to help them out, because if I don't make a move now, they're going to be dying for nothing. So I decide to move in here and maybe get some more damage. And I also decide that this Oni over there is still alive, so maybe I can use this Oni as a distraction to move in with my King Tiger and get some damage on this TheFrXion anti-LTG. Now, as I mentioned, the accuracy on this tank is not too bad. The armor definitely is one of the strengths, and the speed is not too shabby at all. 38 kilometers per hour top speed will get you from point A to point B very quickly. So we deal with that TheFrXion. We have to deal with that LTG on top of the hill. Then there's a Jackson right around the corner. And what you can see on the map right now, aim time's also not too bad, as I can mention right there. We have a bit of a problem. As I said, the 1-2 line, we didn't really control it. We had a couple of tanks looking down the 1-2 line, but the T-29 on the enemy team has just decided to push in. We have a AMX 1357 moving in as well, and we are desperately trying to get some kind of semblance of front line started. Luckily for us, our artillery manages to take out the T-29, and we bounce a couple more shots from the E-25 and the Hellcat on top of the hill. But we're in a bit of an awkward situation, because I need to take out this Jackson. He's proxy spotting me, he's perma spotting me. We have a Yak Panzer IV behind us, we have an AMX 1357, and right here it's really important to see that our E-25 has gotten himself into a really awkward position. He just is getting absolutely destroyed by everyone sitting in the back there and right here. So we're gonna lose our E-25 very quickly. He was full HP and he just gave his life away for nothing. He still got 2 kills, but this E-25 would have been a great asset for us. But either way, we have a bit of a problem. This AMX is still around there, and I was expecting the Jackson to push me, so I was expecting several tanks to gang up on me and, you know, put some pressure on me. But luckily for me, we just turned this game around again. We were really lucky. Our team just nuked the Jackson, and this T-34E5 really helped me with the AMX, and the non-sword has taken care of the LTG. So now we have the tank advantage. We have 3 artillery pieces, but we have an E-25, an M44, and the Hellcat remaining on the enemy team. The problem now is that we don't have anyone capable of spotting the Hellcat or the E-25. I don't have the camouflage, I don't have the spotting. I'm in a Tiger, a King Tiger, and if I do make any kind of play right now, I might just sacrifice myself for nothing. So the E-25 is going to be the big thing. We need to take out this E-25. So at this moment in time, I'm expecting the E-25 to be still at A5, because he managed to shoot me just a couple of seconds before, let's say about a minute and a half before. The thing is that we know that the artillery is somewhere over at A1, A2. So we need to make a play, or we need to wait. Unfortunately for us, the E-25 just made an appearance, and he's going to wreck our artillery. That was a very smart play from that E25. He's a very skilled player, and we noticed it at that moment because he has 6 kills. He managed to go around unnoticed. We had a nice round over here, and I do get spotted by the M18 Hellcat or maybe the M44. Unfortunately, I take a hit, I lose 141 HP. That's not the worst thing, but still, it hurts. The E25 is now capping, so I need to make a play. I need to take out the artillery, and I need to put some pressure on the M18 Hellcat. The problem is, I know that the artillery is over here. The E25 is fast enough, he can move into any direction, and the advantage that we had previously now has completely gone. Now, I'm expecting the M18 to be in base. Unfortunately, the Hellcat is actually on top of the ridgeline. And, as you can see, worse gets even worse, and we actually aren't able to do any damage to the Hellcat in 2 shots. Now that would have probably done about 500 HP worth of damage to that Hellcat very quickly right there. And as it goes, we also get hit by artillery. So this game is basically over. But as you can see, the King Tiger in a matchup like this is incredibly resilient. This is exactly the reason why a lot of people love this tank, because it's so resilient. It has great armor, and it really feels like a King Tiger. It feels very, very powerful. I have been completely outplayed here. I cannot do anything. I know that the E25 is just gonna come around and clean me up after he cleans up the T-34-85. So the best thing I can do right now is to engage the M44. I see he just fired, and I'm hoping that the M44 cannot reload in time, but I do know that the M44 is one of those tanks that has incredible rate of fire, and he's probably going to be able to do quite a bit of damage to us. Fortunately, we're not able to finish him off, but he manages to finish us off. And you can see this guy has 3 marks of excellence on his M44, the most overpowered artillery piece in the game. And yeah, it must be a player that is really skilled with this tank, because 3 marks of excellence is probably quite difficult. I think with the amount of people that are playing that tank, it must be difficult. So yeah, let's just skip back for a second to when this tank was still alive. Let's just get into free cam and talk about the King Tiger. As I mentioned previously, the King Tiger is a really resilient vehicle. It's a really cool tank. Its 88mm K43 gun, which is the long 88mm gun, is really able to do so much damage. It's capable of damaging a lot of enemy armor, and even at tier 8 the gun is still very reliable. Tier 9 you might run into some problems, but tier 8 this gun is very reliable. The gun handling itself is quite decent as well. The armor is what really sets this tank apart. As I mentioned previously, the VK4503 is just nowhere near on the level that this King Tiger is, because it is the upgraded King Tiger, because it is the King Tiger that they produced at the end or the later stages of the war. And with the 38 kilometers per hour top speed, you're also quite capable of going from point A to point B. But the armor is what really sets this thing off. It has decent gun handling, it has a pretty good DPM, and it has really good armor. So this is a very good all-rounder, a very forgiving heavy tank that if you're playing it, I think you're gonna have a lot of fun. So I'd say Wargaming did the right thing. Now hear me out, they did the right thing to introduce this tank as a free kind of vehicle with Prime, because I think this is a tank that anyone can play and enjoy. But the problem is the way that they took this vehicle out of the game again. I am really appalled and shocked that they have decided to take this tank out and, you know, only make it available for sale and have people buy it for real money, not even gold. And thus I think this is a really sketchy kind of marketplace behavior. And yes, I like this tank. I think you would like this tank as well if you're able to pick it up. But I cannot really, like, I have to say, I feel a bit ashamed that I picked it up. At the same time, I think a lot of people would say I've enjoyed this tank so much, I think I am willing to pay for it, but I just think it's a bit of a scummy move because I thought that they would give this tank out for free. Not that I just want to pick up free things, but because it was the right thing to do. If they take this vehicle out, they should give it out for free. They can sell it, but sell it for all the people that didn't have Prime, that didn't sign up with this, right? Because it's a bit of a scummy move. You guys told us if you cancel Prime or you change it all, you take out this vehicle, it will belong to the players that received it. And you know, just taking it out but keeping the Prime thing around and then selling it to the guys that were, you know, had it, that's like a slap in the face. And that's just my final standpoint on this vehicle. Hopefully you guys did enjoy this video. If you did, as always, comment, like, and subscribe, and I'll see you guys on the next video. Until then, have a good one.